This Day in Sports History.
Hey, I'm golf broadcaster Matt Adams. The updated and expanded second edition of my book, The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments, is now available. Readers can expect to march with Arnie's Army at the 1960 U.S. Open, relive Jack Nicklaus's remarkable 1986 Masters win, and be amazed by the Tiger Slam. The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments. Pick it up where fine books are sold, including BarnesandNoble.com and Amazon.com.
Hey, and welcome back to another edition of This Day in Sports History, a member of the Sports History Network, your source for all things sports history related. Check out sportshistorynetwork.com for more info and to find more podcasts. It's August 20th, and let's start in 1964 when a harmonica led to a bit of discord with the New York Yankees. The Yankees had just been swept by the Chicago White Sox in a 4-game series at Comiskey. In the final game of the series, they'd been blanked 5-0, only managing 7 hits. The 4 straight losses had moved the Yankees to 4.5 games back in the American League. The mood of the players as they got on the bus was not good, and it got worse when they were delayed leaving the ballpark for O'Hare Airport. They had a 4-game series in Boston that they needed to get to, and they wanted to put the distaste of Chicago in their rearview mirror as quickly as possible. Phil Linz was a backup infielder for the Yankees. In his 7-year career, he only hit .235 with 11 home runs. By his own admission, he was not a very good baseball player. He also wasn't much of a harmonica player, but his sense of timing may have been even worse. With the bus delayed leaving, Linz thought it would be a good time to pull out the new harmonica that he just bought in Chicago and work on the tune he'd been learning. In fact, with it, he pulled out the Learn by Numbers pamphlet that came with it. And he started blowing into it, Mary Had a Little Lamb. Well, it didn't take long for manager Yogi Berra to react, and he yelled to the back of the bus where Linz was sitting and was butchering the song to shove that harmonica up your... Well, you can probably fill in the rest there. Linz was concentrating on his playing, and he didn't quite hear what the first-year Yankees skipper had said to him. So Linz turned to Mickey Mantle across the aisle and asked the Mick, "What did he say?" Without blinking an eye, Mantle responded, "He said play it louder." So Linz kept on playing. Berra got up from his seat in the front of the bus and started walking down the aisle, and Linz said he had never seen Yogi so mad. Linz feared that the manager was going to hit him. So, as Yogi was walking towards him, Linz flipped the harmonica at Berra. Yogi caught it, and he threw it back at him, except Yogi had lost a bit of aim since retiring as the Yankees catcher, and the harmonica hit Joe Pepitone's knee. Berra started screaming at Linz about how you'd think we just won 4 straight the way you're acting. Things on the bus were tense to the airport and then on the plane ride to Boston. Reporters were traveling with the team on the bus, and the story of Berra, Linz, and the harmonica were in every New York and Boston newspaper the next day. Linz went to Yogi the next day before the game and apologized for his poor timing and for being disrespectful. Berra fined him $250. But the story does not quite end right there. For the rest of the season, whenever the Yankees played, harmonicas would be tossed onto the field. Linz actually signed an endorsement deal with Hohner Harmonicas for $10,000, and he was on the back cover of the 1965 Yankee yearbook with the caption, "Play it again, Phil." But wait, there's more to this story. The Yankees dropped the next 2 games in Boston, but then they went on a tear to close out the season and win the pennant. They played the St. Louis Cardinals in the World Series that year, losing in 7 games. Berra was fired after the World Series defeat, and one of the reasons cited for his dismissal was the harmonica incident. General Manager Ralph Houck thought that the argument that happened on this day in 1964 was due to Yogi having lost the locker room and he couldn't control his team. Linz said Yogi never held the harmonica incident against him, but Yogi did regret not getting in on that harmonica endorsement deal. On this day in 2000, Tiger Woods won his third consecutive major championship in dramatic fashion. This was the PGA Championship played at Valhalla Country Club in Louisville, Kentucky. Tiger jumped out on day one with a 6-under par 66 and a share of the lead. A 67 on Friday put him in the lead by a shot. Journeyman pro Bob May, who was still looking for his first tour win, had jumped up the leaderboard with a 66 of his own. When Tiger shot 70 on Saturday, May's second straight 66 put him just one shot back heading into Sunday's round, played on this day. The two were paired up as the final group, and May did not wither. In fact, he thrived. This was a classic golf match that was one of the best to ever watch. The pair were clear of the field when they made the turn, and that was when the real fun started. May had a chance to really grab control of the tournament on 15. He had a one-shot lead at that point, and he'd stuck his approach to 4 feet and was staring at birdie. Tiger had missed the green, but was able to get up and down for the par. May missed the short putt, though, and his lead stayed at 1. Tiger birdied 17 to square the match, and then on 18, May rolled in an 18-foot downhill double breaker for his birdie, putting pressure on Tiger to make his 5-foot birdie putt, which he did, sending it to a 3-hole aggregate playoff. Both Tiger's and May's 18-under par set the PGA Championship record for score in relation to par. On the first hole of the playoff, May hit an incredible pitch shot to within 6 inches to salvage his par. Tiger was looking at a 20-foot birdie putt, and this is one that you've probably seen replayed a lot. Tiger sends it on his way, and then with about 5 feet to go, he starts fast walking to it, and he points at it as it drops in the side door for his birdie. Both golfers would par the next 2 holes, giving Tiger the one-shot win in the playoff and his second PGA Championship. It was also the first time since Ben Hogan in 1953 that a golfer had won 3 majors in the same year, and it was the third leg of what would become known as the Tiger Slam. On this same day, 6 years later, Tiger was at it again, winning his third PGA Championship, this one held at Medina in Illinois. He started off the day in a tie for the lead with Luke Donald, but then he went out and blistered the course with a 66. Medina was a place where he felt pretty comfortable since it was the site of his first PGA Championship back in 1999. And once again, Woods finished up his 4 days at 18 under par, equaling his score in relation to par from 6 years earlier. It was his 12th major golf tournament win, and it was the 5th time that he'd won a major by 5 shots or more. Now, from early on, Tiger paid homage to black golfers who'd come before him, and he was especially fond of Charlie Sifford. Well, on this day in 1967, Sifford won his first official PGA Tour event. This was the Greater Hartford Open in Connecticut. And I say official because Sifford had actually won the Long Beach Open in 1957, but that was only a 54-hole event at the time and was not considered an official PGA event. So anyway, on this day, Sifford shot a final round 64 to beat Steve Opperman by a stroke. When his final putt dropped on 18, the all-white crowd around the green erupted in cheers. It marked the first ever win by an African-American golfer on the PGA Tour. He was congratulated by his fellow pros, and little white kids asked him for his autograph. It was a stark contrast to what he'd faced breaking into the PGA, and he was pretty emotional about it after receiving his winner's check, saying, "If you try hard enough, anything can happen." And let's go back to the baseball diamond to finish off today's show. On this day in 1945, little Tommy Brown homered off Preacher Row, becoming the youngest major leaguer to ever hit a home run. He was 17 years, 4 months, and 14 days. Brown was playing for the Brooklyn Dodgers at this point after signing as a 16-year-old. And just like the Joe Nuxhall story, Brown was really only on the team because so many Major League ball players were serving their country in World War II. He had been called up from the minors to make his Major League debut in 1944. He started off the 45 season back in the minors before being brought in again to play shortstop in August. The Pittsburgh Pirates were in town on this day playing the Dodgers at Ebbets Field and had opened up a 6-0 lead when Brown came to the plate in the 7th. He launched a preacher row pitch over the left field fence for the only Brooklyn run of the day in an 11-1 loss. And then, when the boys came back from the war, Brown was sent back to the minors, but was brought back up again 2 seasons later and played with the Dodgers until 1951 before being traded to Philadelphia and then to the Chicago Cubs. In total, he hit 31 homers in his career, but he is still, and probably always will be, the youngest to ever hit a home run in Major League Baseball history. And time now for today's Non-Sports Did You Know? The tiniest snail ever discovered can fit through the eye of a needle and have plenty of room to spare. That's all for now. Come on back tomorrow for another edition of This Day in Sports History. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website. Seriously, all you gotta do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you gotta do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.